And we are being joined today by Kristen Rosen Gonzalez. She has agreed to spend a few minutes with us today, and we shall shortly get to some really important topics and questions that the voters of Miami Beach deserve to know. So, Kristen, first of all, thank you. I know you're currently running for commissioner, so thank you for taking the time to spend a little bit of your afternoon with us. So, thank you for that. And
Thank you.
what group exactly are you running? Is it Group 1?
Okay, so the way that Miami Beach works is every 2 years, 3 groups run. There's 6 commission seats, groups 1 through 6. So this year it's groups 1 through 3, and then 2 years from now will be groups 5 through 6. 5 through 6. And
Right.
so this year I'm running in group 1. And the groups really don't mean anything. They have no geographical meaning. I mean, every single seat represents all of the city of Miami Beach. So a lot of people
Right.
do not understand how our government works, and not enough people come out to vote. Are you laughing at me? Do I look?
No. It's just that I actually didn't know about the whole groups thing. I was used to districts and voting area gerrymandering. So when I heard about the whole groups thing, I was a little bit like, oh, okay. So who is in Group 1, and who are you running up against?
You know that you're not supposed to ask a politician about her opponents, right? You're only supposed to ask her about herself. But I'll tell you, I'm running against a woman named Raquel Pacheco, Adrian Gonzalez, who's the former owner, of David's Cafe, and there's another a person running named Blake Young, and I'm the fourth person in this group. There might even be a fifth person, a guy named Fabian Basabe. So we have a bunch of people running, which is great for democracy. I don't know how great all of them are for Miami Beach.
I understand that you ran also for Donna Shalala's district. So that district is like so hotly contested. I literally know people from that just wanted to get in on that action, like progressives. So I understand that you were already a commissioner. So like you've been in multiple elections, so you're like seasoned. I mean, not only are you a single mom, so I read, who also has a lot of experience with an inner city school. So it's like you're well seasoned in all of these topics that I take it are very important for the average Miami Beach voter. What would you say is the main reason why you were motivated to run this time around? Like, what's in it in 2021 for you?
Well, this cycle, I got really mad when a group of our legislators tried to sell our oceanfront public library and tried to justify it by saying that Miami Beach needed the money. Our city has plenty of money. Government should not be in the business of selling public property. But also, we're at a tipping point in terms of the quality of our tourism and the amount of crime. The amount of crime and violence that we have in our city. As a matter of fact, it's 5:09 right now, but at 6 p.m., I'm going to be at a vigil for this man, Dustin Wakefield, who had last week, there was a gunman who pointed a gun at his baby's head, and he was about to shoot his baby when he stood up in between himself and the baby and got shot himself. And then the person danced on top of his body. So Miami Beach has kind of hit a tipping point in terms of crime. Sorry about that. I keep getting notifications because I wasn't playing.
Busy woman.
But yeah, what people really want right now is they want. Listen, I'm not the law and order person, okay? I am a yogi. I'm a community college professor. I'm a PhD. I'm an academic. But at the same time, I understand the need for safety and security. And that's really what people want here on Miami Beach right now. As I stand there at Publix, I just came from standing at Publix for 2 hours, which is where I meet people, and I have conversations and I get to gauge how people are feeling. I think the biggest concern right now in our entire city is safety. Safety across Miami
Christian,
Beach.
have you lived on Miami Beach like your whole life? Like, would you say that you're like a longtime resident? Right.
Yeah. I was born here.
Right. So can we agree that the crime has gone up? Like, I want you to give me look back and think and like compare today's Miami Beach to all the different times of throughout your life. Like, has it really gotten worse? Because I understand like politicians, like, they say, oh, now is the moment, your voice must be heard.
Oh,
Obviously,
no.
like networks, TV networks, and like politicians all need, of course, to like build up an emotional momentum and all that. Has the crime become like unbearable for residents? Not the tourists. Obviously, the tragedy was that recently happened was related to, like, they were both from out of town. But like for a Miami Beach resident, can we say that their day-to-day life has become more violent or vulnerable?
Yes. Look, we've had crime waves in the past. I mean, we had the Mariel refugees like in the 80s. I
Yeah.
remember when I was young, you couldn't leave like a package in your car without having it stolen.
Wow.
It was a really terrible time. Like older ladies, because Miami Beach was like full of like older Jewish women who had survived the Holocaust were getting raped in the streets by crazy people. So yeah, have we had crime waves before? Yes, but this is becoming progressively worse year over year. And I think finally, our police officers are really afraid to engage. So what we have right now is this massive block party that we're hosting every single day. People are vomiting, shooting each other. I mean, it's like have you ever one of those Hieronymus Bosch paints, Garden of Earthly Delights, where all this crazy stuff is happening and it looks hellish? That's really
Chaos.
literally
Yes.
what we have on our. It's chaos. It's lawlessness. And I never considered myself to be a law and order person, but that's really what people want right now. They want somebody who's going to come in and say, "All right, you know what? We need to begin to enforce our laws." And I'm okay with that. I don't think that needs to be a partisan issue. I understand that tensions are high and that a lot of people have been mistreated by the police in the past. But if we don't have police, then how are we going to have any sense of order?
Right.
Unfortunately, in civilization, we pass laws, and you have to follow the laws. But people are coming here. They're selling drugs in the streets. Listen, I'm all for legalization of marijuana, but I don't necessarily think it helped Miami Beach by decriminalizing it because it's everywhere on the
Mhm.
streets. And I've gotten 3 phone calls today from different women who are just fed up. Like their 5-year-old knows what marijuana smells like, or their elevator.
Everywhere.
It's
Yes.
just everywhere. It's
Yeah. I saw.
creating this kind of anything goes party atmosphere,
Right. That is no longer
and
like limited
it's
to
starting
just
to
the entertainment district, because it's like everywhere now in Miami Beach.
it's
Because
It's
just
everywhere.
yesterday,
We've lost all of our retail stores. Nobody wants to do business here anymore because all the stores are being looted and shoplifted. So we're losing our retail. The retailers that are still there have armed guards on them. Our oceanfront hotels have armed guards. And the truth of the matter is when do we say enough is enough? So as a community, we're going to stand courageously and push back and say, listen, you're welcome to come here if you want to follow our laws. But if you're going to come here and you're
yeah.
going to bring your guns and you're going to do your drugs on our streets, we're just not going to tolerate it. We just need the police to be on board with us, and they're not too happy about that. So
On
it's
board
just too
with who?
much
I
for
don't
them.
understand that part about the cops. What do you mean they're not on board?
We need the police to be on board with what the residents want, which is to enforce our laws. Because the police are just saying right now, look, there's 404 of us. We need 200 more police. That's economically unviable. But people are literally paying armed guards to
But
stand
would you
outside
want
their
more
hotels.
cops? Would you want
Yeah,
like?
yeah, I would want as many as we could possibly get. If they're
Right.
gonna do what they say that oh, I don't know why I have that blue line. Is that supposed to be
Blue
there?
line?
Do you see it?
No, I'm not seeing a
Yeah,
blue
I see
line.
it. Oh, okay. Anyway, I saw a blue line like
Maybe
a
it's a
string.
notification.
Oh, it is. No, I don't know. Anyway, so that's where we are right now. It's a sad, like everybody's upset. I just said to some one person in the community that whose support I want. Can I get your support? And he said, I don't think you're tough enough. And you know what? But I think women can be tougher than men. I think the men have done a terrible job so far trying to secure the city. So there's a couple strong women running, and I can literally say as a mom, like I want to shut the party down, and that's what we have to do. And business owners and residents and every stakeholder possible have to kind of get on board. Otherwise, I don't know.
I
People are
saw a video
leaving.
that where you were on YouTube, where you were saying that you were for the like the renovation of the Carlisle, and just yesterday I was around that area and there were homeless people everywhere, and yes, the marijuana smell is everywhere. So it's like not just the South Beach area
Everywhere.
conflict. It really is everywhere, and I really don't see how that can be like if it is a reality. I don't see how that should be a partisan thing. I like how you talked about certain things that should not be partisan, and in races in local municipal races like these, like you get a lot of people that are typically very very partisan, where they'll insist on certain topics that, oh no, but that's nonpartisan. And I wanted to ask you if in on the ground, since you were already a commissioner, how real is that? Like once you're actually governing and you're having meetings and all that, hey, like do you have like is it realistic to say that you can indeed reach across the aisle and work with people that are radically different ideologically
It's very
speaking?
interesting. The pendulum has swung in our city. Before, people would look at you and they would say, are you a Republican? And they would like years ago, and and I would say this is
It's getting cut off. I can't hear. I can't hear. Like, could you go back? I think we're having technical difficulties.
Oh,
Yeah.
a couple of
Okay.
years ago, people would.
Yes.
Okay, a couple of years ago, people would look at you and they would say, "Are you a Republican?" And they meant it in a demeaning way. But now people are looking at me and saying, "Are you a Democrat?" So there's been some pushback against the Democratic Party. People are angry.
But isn't Miami Beach like a very liberal city, generally speaking?
Yeah, you would think so, except for like maybe they don't shop at Publix. Maybe they're at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. I've been standing a lot at Publix, so maybe I'm hitting a more conservative. I mean, I personally shop at Trader Joe's, and I mean, I'm a Democrat, so maybe there's partisan.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just look. First of all, I'm a PhD, so I kind of see these trends, but I do see like a definite, like more conservative trend here, and people just want to clean it up. And I don't think that should be Republican or Democrat. Listen, I'm all for educating as many people as we can affordably. I want people to have access to health care, but I also want to make sure that that our kids are safe. I don't want babies being shot. I don't want people being shot in broad daylight. I mean, enough is enough. Get out of our city. That's really how I feel. They got to get out. Yeah.
Now you say that you're a Trader Joe's shopper, but you've been hitting the Publix, and I want to ask you how, on the day-to-day, how is it like if it's a possibility within the Miami Beach politics scene to do like a nonpartisan wave of anti-corruption, because I do understand that Miami Beach has a sustainability issue, a problem of being just unable to pay its bills in the future. I mean, I've heard numbers like maybe by 2030, it's going to go bankrupt, and you do have the climate crisis and all these properties.
We're not going bankrupt. Our city
Miami Beach is still solvent.
Possibly imagine we.
Can't hear you. We're losing signal there.
I
have a feeling that Miami Beach has data issues.
I mean, people frame things however they want to in order to like people.
It's getting cut off.
That we generate. The city is booming. I own a restaurant called Cafe Bernie at 5600 Collins Avenue on the water, and our restaurant is packed, and we're not even in season. We have tourists coming all the time. There are people from around the country, okay, and around the world that come to Miami Beach. You've got a bachelor party, huge groups, conventions, bachelor parties, and our convention center isn't even up and running. So I don't know who told you that, but we are fiscally very rich. We have a lot of cash. We have the beach.
Right. Okay. So let's accept that. Let's say that Miami Beach does not have an economic problem looming in the future. What about then managing that cash, managing all that money that's coming in? Do you think Miami Beach has like a corruption problem? Because I know Miami, the city of Miami has its history. I mean, when you look at all these politicians going through issues, but what about specifically the Miami Beach scene? Like all the typical names and all the issues and all of the, like when you hear of kickbacks or ethics commissions, where you get like so many the reports on both sides, how you hear of Democrats and Republicans not exactly being law-abiding once they get to power, and like helping their friends out and just not exactly the type of conduct that would instill more trust in the electorate, which explains why is that yeah, a lot of people just refuse to participate in the election, why so many people are still even not registered to vote in Miami Beach. So do you think Miami Beach has a corruption problem, and if so, what can you say that you will do as somebody who has already been involved in politics but wants to get back at it? What would you say that you have to offer for any Miami Beach resident that is just unwilling to give his trust to any politician that has been around and is a name and it has a already is already famous and doesn't give them enough of the trust factor?
I mean, I think the most important thing is that an honest vote, right? I'm not going to I'm not going to ruin the public trust and sell off public properties. I think that every government has corruption, and you cannot say that it's Democrats or Republicans. It's individual people who get into these positions and use these positions to give and award different contracts. You know, a lot of these government contracts are the best thing that you could possibly imagine. So people use these government sell contracts, sell municipal properties, and that's not what this is about. This is about service. It's about public service to your community. And is it fun? It is not always. My voting record, and I can promise you that I'm very proud of the votes that I've taken. And you know what? I wish that I could vote yes more often. I find myself voting no a lot because a lot of really horrible legislation is proposed on selling different properties or increasing zoning in areas that will displace large groups of people. But I never vote that way. I always try to vote the most ethical way that I possibly can. You know, and that's not easy to do in government. It really isn't, but I pride myself on that. And I think a lot of people know that. And I see that when I stand at Publix. You know, people are like, oh, it's me. You know, so it's interesting, especially me, and I've earned their trust.
So
Hello.
so you yeah, I was getting cut off a little bit. Um, but I mean, I mentioned the corruption issue because there is a lot of people get their hopes up a lot of times with a new election cycle. For instance, on most recently, the most heartbroken people I saw were the voters that really had their hopes up that, for instance, Joe Biden would restore the Cuba issue everything that Obama had done, and then he didn't do anything of that. And so I've had people on my show saying that I am never voting again. Like, not only not voting Democrat, they're saying just nothing. They're just writing off elections altogether because time and time again, obviously politicians promise things, but then they don't deliver. And then they'll say, "Oh, well, I tried, but we had to negotiate."
He promised the wrong things to the wrong people. I mean, that deal with Cuba was struck right before the election. Hands were probably shaken, and he said, we're going back to the embargo. And I don't think, I'm sure he made that deal to get Cuban support, and he did have a lot of Cuban support. I know a lot of the older Cubans love Donald Trump. I mean, you're not taking away Donald Trump, but he did have a lot of people in our community who just wanted somebody moderate. And I'm sure that was part. I'm surprised that he hasn't opened it back up. He must not consider it important enough.
I think sadly the Biden administration still thinks that they can win over those new Cuban voters, because surprisingly the older Cuban votes have actually turned out to be more moderate than the younger crowd, according to FIU polls, where they've seen that they're actually a little bit more hardliners than even Marielitos or classic Cubans that arrived past the 60s. But do you? By the way, with Gonzalez in there, do you speak any Spanish?
Claro. ¿Cómo piensas que he ganado estas elecciones? La mayoría de mis campañas están en español. I speak like a gringa, but I'm fluent.
Oh,
and
that's
I really
okay.
relate to the Hispanic. Yeah. But I love the Hispanic community. Me encanta la comunidad hispana. I was just all afternoon in the Hispanic part of the city. You know why? Because Hispanic people, truth be told, are just more welcoming and nicer than a gringo. If you go stand at the gringo, like at the Publix in like our super gringo area, people are like afraid of you. They don't want to engage in discussion. But you go outside of a Navarro and people are like, claro que voto por ti. You know, it's like so much easier. They'll give you a kiss.
Right.
I mean, they're just so
So
nice.
much more trusting.
They're trusting, they're kind, they're open to ideas, they'll engage in conversation, they're not rude. Very rarely will a Hispanic person, if you speak to them, like not talk back to you. But I have found that a lot of, I guess American gringos are like afraid to engage in discussion. And I also think this pandemic has people isolated and they're even more afraid than ever to engage in discussions. They got to have the mask on, it's I mean,
Oh, that
and I
just makes it
understand
horrible.
that.
Canvassing sucks when you're wearing a mask.
It's hard.
How do you introduce yourself to these people? Like when you go up to a potential voter, like how do you represent yourself and say like, I am Kristen. What exactly do you do then? Like, how do you introduce yourself to them?
You mean in Spanish or English? It just depends on
in
who's
general.
in front of me. I will literally just come up to you and say, do you vote in Miami Beach? And they'll look at me and I'll qualify them. And if they say that they vote, I'll say, not enough people vote in our elections. My name is Kristen Rosen Gonzalez and I need your vote on November. I go straight for the tell them I need your vote. And then they'll say, well, why? And I'll say, well, because I don't want to sell off municipal property or I think the crime is out of control. And I'll have a conversation. I'll say, what matters to you? And then they'll tell me. And, and politics is about listening more than speaking. It really is. If you ever run for something, Yadira, you'll see. You'll be listening a lot.
I ran for Congress in 2019, but that was a fiasco. So that was a true fiasco.
You did?
Yes, against Bullard.
Oh, you did? Oh, yes. You did. Oh, listen.
And got this Congress practically disowned by the Democratic Party. So
they are tough. They are so
because obviously the Democratic Party in South Florida has a unique challenge. It's an uphill battle against, and they're always trying to the leadership at least is always trying to distance itself between anything that might even remotely remind the electorate of socialism or anything like that, which is I think is bad for politics because you never want to be like dictating policy out of fear or responding, right? You don't respond. You have to be proactive. Like you can't just be suddenly in South Florida, be a Democrat and just be all the time excusing yourself saying, but not a socialist. No, you just have to like forget about that and just already start giving out ideas.
No, you have to. You have to push back and
well, yes, you have to push back, but not engage nonstop in the discussion because then they're dictating the topic.
Did you hear Maria Yadira? She has these like fear mongering videos. I really wish she'd stop with the fear mongering communism / videos. I mean, she's good and she's very convincing and she's got this base, but like sometimes I know that that's just political theater for her. She's really just acting in a role and people find it convincing. But you'd be a great Democratic candidate. How'd you do in that race?
Well, the thing is that we immediately got so attacked that even like literally within the week of the attack, like the Miami Herald just leaving basically, in other words, it was all like a wave of terrorists, Castro agents, socialists, all those horrible nasty things. Yeah. And it's like, I have literally gone on TV for years saying that I believe in free markets and all that stuff, but never mind what you actually say. It's that they need a boogeyman. And it didn't, I mean, even the congresswoman from
was the Democratic Party.
What was the one that lost for the Jimenez one, like her district, which was Joe Garcia's district 26.
Debbie
Marcusel Powell. Yeah, she went out of her way to say that I did not belong in Congress. And Steve Simonidis also said basically that there was no umbrella for me. And then she lost her seat because again, like trying to distance yourself from anything that is remotely Bernie or progressive-ish is no good. Because obviously my positions are just basically Obama's regarding Cuba. Say that again?
So why weren't they supporting you? Why weren't they supporting you? Who else could they possibly support as the Democrat for that seat? Who's like as good looking as you are?
That's just isn't that sad? Isn't that sad that they didn't? Cuban? They did not support anyone, and basically he won unopposed. I mean, if if you think, well, maybe I'm no good, well, then why won't you present someone? They presented nobody. So in that race, he didn't even have to spend money. He literally won unopposed. And so when you hear then stories that some of them in the leadership are actually have like classic mafias where they have the districts um, signed off for everyone and everybody just like shakes hand behind doors. It just kind of sometimes feels like that. So that's why I was asking you earlier, like, how would you convince your average voter? Because there's so much dirtiness to politics. Like the Cuban saying that you do not discuss politics at the dinner table because it just gets so nasty. That's why I was asking you, like, how would you like engage people?
Number one, you can't give up. And you have to do this grassroots stuff for years and years, like stand in front of Publix or stand on the street and wave at people, like do things where you can hit large amounts of people and you can counteract TV and attacks. Once people see you, I swear to God, they're more likely to vote for you. It's just hard work. And you try to respond depending on how much money you have. Can you respond or can you not? Thank goodness I'm in a position right now where, I think I've proven myself again and again. But for somebody young like you starting out, just like find people that believe in you and are going to give you cash because you need enough money. You can't run a campaign without money. You've got to be able to either loan yourself the money, raise the money in a congressional race.
It's like millions of dollars.
I had $400,000. But my opponents had like 4 million, and I kind of kept up with them, but it was exhausting. I would never want to do it again. I mean, standing out on US1 in August in that sun for hours.
Are you referring to your 2015 campaign?
It wasn't worth. No, that was 2018. That was my only congressional foray. After
the
that,
Congress,
I decided
right.
that I was kind of done. Look, if you want to run for Congress, you have to have Nancy Pelosi's permission, and you have to agree that you're going to go and fundraise every single day for the Democratic Party. And then they go and they spend your money. And by the way, a lot of that money is not in good messaging. And a lot of the stuff that they say sometimes I don't necessarily agree with. Debbie Murkisell Powell lost her race because she used to say ridiculously extremist things all day long. Nobody wants to hear their politician, believe it or not, complaining all the time. They really do want to hear a politician that's out in the community, that cares, that loves everyone, that loves the Republicans, the Independents, and the Democrats. That's why she didn't win her race, because not enough people think that she loves everyone. She was way too partisan. And at the end of the day, you represent everyone. You represent everyone. You have to understand that we all have differences of opinions. And yes, legislatively, you can vote, but you also have to be open enough to reach across the aisle every now and then and work with other people to get things done. You have to. That's how government works. We have different ideas, but we also need to work together. And that's what we're missing right now. And I got to say, it's so frustrating. I don't want to hate Republicans. My mom's a Republican, I don't hate anyone. I just want to be like rational and realistic, but that doesn't seem to work. So I'm never running again for federal office. Look, I say that and I'll probably run for federal office. I won't. I'm very happy here at the local level. Miami Beach has problems.
Can you actually get the stuff done at the local level? Because everybody that was trying to convince me to go federal were just saying, if you have a liberal progressive agenda or something like that, or whatever it is, you will only be hitting your head against a brick wall. If you go to Tallahassee, where everybody's just already shared everything and everything's set into stone and you can't really change anything. Can you really change things a lot at the local level?
Yeah, you can change things all the time, depending on who you are and how you decide to work. But you can't go into Tallahassee where you have a super majority of Republicans and just scream at them all day long. You're not going to get anything accomplished. So the question is, how can you find legislation and common ground? And find rationality and explain to them this is important for your constituents. So you've got to be able to work with people. Those politicians who are just screaming all day long, I'm telling you, they might have followers on Twitter, but I got to say, I don't think they get much done. Michael Grieco, he's up there in Tallahassee, and Jason Pizzo, those guys, they bat and they go up to bat with the Republicans too. They have to. They have no choice. Otherwise, they'll get nothing done. But they'll find legislation like sprinklers in buildings. That's not partisan. So you can always find things to get done. And by the way, you get the most done at the city and county level. the most.
Right.
Because there's 6 people, 7 people in Miami Beach. You go to Tallahassee, what? There's 100 people. Then you go to, you know, you know, then you go, then you go to the Congress, and it's just so many people. I mean, you have no voice, at all. You can't vote except your party line, or they kick you out, right?
Can I ask you about Michael Grieco? I mean, I have a curiosity because I saw before I asked you to come and spend at least half an hour with us. I went to your Twitter, and I have to say, I've noticed that most of the candidates, like if you look at Mickey Steinberg, for instance, her presence on YouTube is almost non-existent. Like, I don't know what is it with local politicians. Like, I know right now you're not in office, but you were a commissioner. So I've noticed that like all of these politicians, they on online have basically no existence. Like their social media campaigns are very much asleep. In contrast, of course, to what the other politicians that you mentioned that are basically social media heroes, that they have thousands of followers on Twitter. And sometimes I actually think, is this you actually spending like every half an hour tweeting about something, or do you have somebody do this? Because I'm going to start worrying if you're actually governing at all, right? Like if they just spend way too much time on social media.
I cannot. I cannot
it's exhausting.
keep up with Twitter. My voters are really my voters are not on Twitter. If I really, during the pandemic, I had some time, so I started to tweet. It would be amazing because I would tweet and I get like quoted in USA Today. So if I really dedicated myself to developing a presence, I know how to do that.
Right. But you can't splice yourself up into different pieces. So that's why it's hard. You have to make a priority.
I mean, I work full time at a restaurant. I work at the media call. No, I do need to update my Twitter though. I should have it. You know what? Mickey Steinberg, she is so smart because enemies, no controversy, no Twitter. If at first I used to think, wow, that's not so smart. I think that she doesn't tweet. Every tweet you alienate like 50% of the people. So sometimes
look,
you've got to have opinions. That's for sure. It's just playing it.
It's a double-edged sword.
But I mean, I don't know.
But I mentioned your Twitter because I saw that you were doing a live stream. That I mentioned your Twitter because I saw that you had done a live stream at your restaurant, which, by the way, the first time I heard Cafe Bernie, I thought, is that for Bernie Sanders? But I saw that you were doing a different Bernie.
Yeah, my Bernie.
So my question is related to how you interviewed Michael Grieco, and I honestly, I don't live in Miami Beach, so the only things that I've heard about him was that he was involved in a case where there was some bribery or witness was bribed, and there's a little bit of a corruption element related to his activities. So I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with someone that because I don't know how close you are to him, but and because again, all I've seen is that you just interviewed him at your cafe, and you were pretty much you guys were pretty friendly. And I understand that he's a Democrat. He is, right?
He's a Democrat, but he's a middle of the road guy, kind of like I am. I don't think either one of us, but I
not fully.
Well, when we were served together, we voted the same way a lot of times. I think that both of us, we could be super liberal on certain social issues and, have a lot of empathy, but at the same time, we do want, we have some things that are a little bit more conservative fiscally, possibly, and you have to be on Miami Beach. Look, I try not to wave my moral wand at anybody because if this could happen to anyone who got investigated, every single person on that dais in the Miami Beach has at some point taken contributions from people. I don't know. I just feel like I don't think he's more effective than anything negative that he's ever done. And I have to say, he's a great presence. He's super accessible to people. And over time we've learned to we have a mutual respect for each other,
right.
and
so you feel that
if I ever needed him, he'd probably, there for me. Do we agree on everything? No.
Are you saying that then the good outweighs any infractions that he might have had?
I think that when you look closely enough at anyone, look, he made a stupid decision taking a large contribution in a PAC that he wasn't supposed to. and having
Right.
somebody who was a foreign national, gives the money to someone else. But like I have to say, I've had situations before where like a Canadian has sent me money, and I'm like, oh my god, I got to give that back to you immediately. You panic. Well, like let's
Right.
say,
It is a
or
slippery
a
slope.
French person.
Yeah.
What if you didn't know? Like sometimes like you don't know. Like sometimes things happen like that, and you just, I mean, in this case, listen, he admitted that he was wrong after
Okay.
not, right? Okay, I
Okay.
think he ate a huge slice of humble pie, and I think it's pretty admirable that he came back because he loves public service. And at the end of the day, Miami Beach is much better off with him than without him. And so
Do you feel
I
like
try to be
voters
forgiving.
have that attitude as well, where they will be a little bit understanding of the politicians, and sometimes because obviously everybody is unique, and we're talking about Miami Beach
Of
voters, like a
course,
certain type of
look,
person.
people are not that ideal at the end of the day. Okay, ideology is important, but people are voting for you because they like you, Yadira, and because you help them, or because
I
they
hope
think you're
so.
funny, or because you just want to help everybody. I
Yeah.
just try to, like, I don't know. At this point, I've spoken to so many thousands of people in my life. I know so many people. Um, I love
You
my
can't possibly
city.
keep track of
The
them.
more I can't. I mean, but I love everyone that I do. I hope I'm not on Facebook right now. Are we on Facebook? Is this live? I've
No,
never
no,
looked so
no, no, not
ugly
on
in an
Facebook.
interview
No.
ever. It's not even like a flattering like angle. I wish I at least had someone filming me. So listen, I have to go to this vigil right now. You are an
Okay.
amazing young woman. I would help you in anything that you want. Not that you need my help, but if I ever can help you, and and God willing, I get elected. You come and see me, and I will support you, because same thing that happened to you has happened to me. And I want to help women, and I want to get outside of this democratic little clicky club that's not
It's
very
a
nice to
club, a
certain
little
people.
bit, yeah.
And they're not even
It
that
is.
nice. And they don't always pick the people who are best for the community. So
It's a
hopefully we'll
mean
get some
girl
great.
situation.
Oh, it's terrible. And then the Save Dade kicks in, and the AFL-CIO does their turn. You're like, what's going on here? This shouldn't be like this. And
Right.
it's really. I wish that the Democratic Party was a little more fair than they are. And
Well,
but I'm trying to be as nice as I can. I don't want to bash them
right.
anymore because
Okay.
they already don't support me. I'm not going to have any endorsements, any Democratic Party endorsements, but I don't care. I just want to gotta go to the people. So, are
Okay. All
you
right.
going
Well,
to run
Christian,
again? Are you running?
maybe. Have you heard of the People's Party? I'm going third party. Then there's also
No,
the
no,
Green
you can
Party.
run.
What a perfect way to destroy whatever Democratic candidate is on the ballot. I'm joking, of course.
You run as a Democrat, but run as your own.
Your own person, yeah. Kristen, we're cutting off, and I'm seriously thinking that Miami Beach has a terrible connection with 4G or 5G, whatever it is that you're on.
Connection. Okay. Well, listen, for
Okay,
time.
fine.
I'm so
Okay,
sorry that I
now
was
we get
not
you.
more prepared from an aesthetic perspective for this. All right.
Okay. Well,
Well, listen,
Christian,
I
thank
wish
you
you the
so
best of
much.
luck. Thank you for interviewing
Thank
me.
you, and good luck at the
Okay.
vigil.
Take care,
Take care.
Yadira. All right. Thanks.
Bye.